In this video, I'm going to talk about questions to ask suppliers before using them for dropshipping. And the thing is that they do have a shipping policy and return policy, but a lot of times you need to actually ask certain questions and get the answer directly from the supplier. Now, you don't actually need to do this for like really major suppliers like say Walmart or Home Depot, but for more obscure suppliers you should always do this. All right, this is something that I have done in the process of deciding whether or not to use a supplier for dropshipping. Most suppliers these days, they have a chat box or some other chat option on their website, so you can just use that. You don't have to actually call on the phone, but you can call if they provide a phone number as well. Now in this video I'm actually going to go over some actual questions. And number one, I have a lot of friends and family who I send gifts to. Is there a limit on the number of different addresses I can send different orders to? And the reason why you ask this question, of course, is because in dropshipping you want to ship to a lot of different addresses. All right, so this is a good question. Now you don't have to use the question exactly as I have it, word for word. You can always rephrase the question a little. Number two, do you leave out the price information on gifts? I don't want them to see how much I paid for them. So this question is a continuation from this question, right? You'll ask a question, this first question, they'll answer it, they'll say, oh, they might say, no, there's no limit. You can, send stuff to as many people as you like. All right, and then you're gonna follow up and say, okay, great, but do you leave out the price information on gifts? I don't want them to see how much I paid for them, all right? Third question you can ask is, what carriers do you guys ship with? This is really important as well, because certain carriers are accepted, right, on Amazon. You can upload the tracking number like for USPS, UPS, all right, FedEx, so on and so forth. I'm talking about Amazon US. But I've used a supplier where there are certain tracking numbers that they use don't upload onto Amazon. Right, there's some like newer, smaller carriers that some of them are using, so it's good to know if they're using any carriers like that. Number four, how long does it normally take for you to ship out orders? Right, so this is very general. We just want to get an idea of their shipping time. All right, and of course, I mean, they probably have it in their shipping policy, but it's good to hear it from an actual rep. All right, so now we'll go to return policy questions. Okay, first of all, of course, returns are a big deal in dropshipping as well, for your ability to provide customer service. Do you guys do free returns? That is the first question, right off the bat. Do you do free returns? Because free returns are preferred. Another question you can follow up with is, do you provide return labels? All right. Now, generally, if they provide free returns, then they provide return labels, because how else do they provide the return for free other than to give you a free return label? However, there's some cases where they do not provide free returns, but they still give you a label. Okay, so even if they say, no, we don't do free returns, still ask, well, do you provide return labels? Because some places provide like a $6 return label, okay, like a pretty, which, I mean, that could impede on your profit or create some kind of loss, but it's better than not being able to return the item at all. Number three, how long do I have to return an item? All right, so the return window, right? How much time do they actually give you after the order to do the return? Then I also have some stock questions, right? If a product is in stock on your website, does that always mean it's in stock at the moment? And there's a perfectly good reason why I ask this question, and it's based on experience. And another question is, can I contact you to make sure that a product is in stock before I order it? Because here's what's going to happen, right? If a product is in stock on your website, does that always mean it's in stock at the moment? They might say no. There's some sites that openly tell you, hey, we can't guarantee that because it's on the website that you add it to your cart that it's actually in stock, and they'll let you know that. I've had suppliers, smaller suppliers, tell me that, right? So then the follow-up question is, okay, well, can I contact you to make sure that a product is in stock before I order it? I mean, this is going to be a tough one for dropshipping, though, because you don't know when the product is going to get ordered. And then by the time the product is ordered, if you go to the supplier and they're out of stock, it's kind of like too late. So really, this is not a good supplier to work with. if they don't know if their items are in stock. But still, I mean, you might be able to figure out a way around to work with this situation. I also have a little mini story to follow up. I had a bad experience where I ordered something and they were out of stock. They didn't ship it for months and wouldn't cancel my order. And this is a real story. This really happened to me. I could tell you what supplier, but I kind of don't like doing that because they might have changed. It was it's been about close to a year since I've used that supplier. Maybe they've improved after the post-pandemic, so I don't know. But this did happen to me, all right, and they wouldn't cancel. And I called and I argued with them, and they wouldn't cancel the orders. And they did it to a lot of people. It was all over social media as well. Now, there are certain tips in talking to reps at the supplier. And they're really more like things I want you to keep in mind. First of all, be very polite and say okay, say thank you a lot, because what happens is it puts the rep in a certain mood. Remember, they're dealing with different situations throughout the day, so you'll put them at ease, and what it's going to do is going to encourage them to talk more. You'll find them giving you more information than you even asked about sometimes, depending on the rep. All right, so be polite. The other thing is reps are expected to be working, so they don't mind spending the time answering your general questions. So don't think that you're like impeding somehow on them or wasting their time. This is what they're paid to do, right? So if they're on chat with you, that's what they're paid to do. And they know that if they're not talking to you, then they're gonna have to talk to someone else because they have to be working all the time. Their employee expects them always to be working. So if they're not talking to you, they might be spending time dealing with an order problem, angry customers, and stuff like that, right? So that's why I said just be polite. They don't mind talking to you. But another thing is try not to sound too business-like. I know you're running a business here, but you don't want it to really sound like you're doing a business, because you're not trying to. This is not. We're talking about retail dropshipping mainly. So I'm not talking about forming a business relationship. I'm just talking about understanding how the supplier operates. So talk from the point of view of a shopper, okay, not a drop shipper. All right, get in the mindset of being a shopper, just a regular online shopper. It's all in your word usage, your vocabulary, also your social interaction. If you're too short to the point about with everything, right, that doesn't sound like a real person. So you want to, I mean, it could be, but come across normal basically as a shopper. And that's basically it for my tips and my questions. I should have a link in the description of this video where if you want to actually download these questions in an actual file, okay, I'll have that provided. It'll probably be a PDF. Yeah, it should be a PDF file that you can download and review. But what I like to do is actually look at a supplier who I just had a chat with the other day. And by the way, you don't necessarily have to ask all these questions at the same time. All right, if you feel like that might raise a flag, then you can always talk to different people, right? So you go here to the chat, all right, it's down here on their page. You go to the chat and see, in their case, they ask for your name, email address. I mean, you can just put your first name here. It doesn't have. It's not such an official thing. You can really put any of your email addresses. In fact, I would even recommend use a different email address from the one you actually plan to do the orders with, just in case the rep is like, wow, this guy was asking a lot of questions. I mean, I don't know. It could be that there are some suppliers who actually look for dropshippers. Like, they don't want dropshippers. There's some suppliers who don't even think about it, from the impression I get from looking at their policies. And then there's some where it actually says, we don't want people drop shipping from us. All right, so sometimes you don't know. So just in case they were to say, hey, I think this guy wants to be a drop shipper and we don't like drop shippers, you don't want the email address that you plan to do orders with, all right, to be associated with the conversation in that case, right? So you might want to just use like a different address, right? And then when you do the orders, you use the actual email address that you're going to order with. I just put order questions here. I mean, inquiry type. How can we help? All right, you start the chat. They even will send a transcript via email after the chat session. I didn't get mine as yet, and it's been about a full day, so I don't know. I'll see. And then you start the chat. All right, and you just ask the questions, right, one by one. Let them answer. As they answer, you say, oh, "Okay, thank you." And another question, right? And you give them the other question. And as I said before, you can always divide the conversation. If you feel like shipping and return and stock is too much in one conversation, you can separate them, right? Because that might seem, I mean, come to think of it, it might be kind of strange that you would have such specific questions about shipping policies, return policies, and stock questions all in one conversation, right? But again, some suppliers don't care. Some suppliers you can order and ship to as many different people as you want all day, and they really don't care. They just want the money. You know, they haven't even given a thought. One supplier I can tell you from experience that does care about dropshipping is Sam's Club. Here's an example on Sam's Club where they are particularly referencing dropship resellers, saying that they're allowed free shipping, but only up to a total of 10 different addresses. Okay, it used to be 19 about 2 years ago, but now it's only 10 addresses. Free shipping will not be available to address exceeding that limit. To addresses exceeding that limit, Sam's Club reserves the right to amend it. Okay, anyway, so the point is that you can't ship to more than 10 addresses using their free shipping program, which is a membership you get called Plus, where you can you get free shipping on a lot of their products. So as you can see, there are certain suppliers where they actually are pretty much anti-drop shipping up to a certain point. So this is why it's so important to go on and ask these questions at any supplier that you plan to use. And this is a very, very important thing to do in drop shipping. If you do this, you will find that you will over time then have more suppliers you can use, because part of the reason why people struggle to find products is because everyone might be using the same supplier. So you might even want to use some suppliers manually, right, which can be done, but you would have to really know how they do things, how they deal with their stock and inventory and things like that. So this is something that could really open you up in a lot of different ways just by talking to these suppliers and getting the information you need. This is Mr. Mark, the Self-Amazon Dropshipping. Any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can leave them below, or you can respond to the email when you subscribe to my mail list. And I look forward to seeing you in another video.